For tonight, you're doing this cartoon. This cartoon is the idea that with this cartoon, I'm going to evaluate mercantilism. And remember, mercantilism is the idea you're gaining gold and silver to create that favorable balance of trade as a result of it. In order to get there, you have to either use the colonies for raw materials or use them as a forced trading partner like England did with some of their colonies, okay? So with this cartoon, notice how, notice some of the aspects of it. It has, the raw materials, the gold, and the mother country, the queen, oh, really flattering me, serving me, so to speak. So keep that in mind as you're answering these questions. What do they have in their hands? And some of it's a basic breakdown, but I guarantee, it's not even a maybe, it's a guarantee. This cartoon is going to appear in your test. And it's going to be a short answer question. Not in this way, but this is why I'm asking you to break it down. And then the diagram is pretty straightforward at the bottom. It's what goes to the mother country, what goes to the colony. Again, we know the raw material goes to the colony or to the mother country and comes back as finished product. Okay, and the table being the finished product, the log being the raw material. And then you're looking at what's the action taking place, and back to the cartoon, what's the action taking place? What's the message of the cartoon? I'm not going to tell you that, but what is it saying? The mercantile. You can clearly see from the title, it's the mercantilist argument for colonial expansion. The mercantilist argument for colonial expansion. So, in addition to what was due today, this is due tomorrow as a check, the mercantilism cartoon question. But that's not our main focus for today. None of this is. We'll pick back up mercantilism tomorrow. I know I'm sorry to skip around. There's a strategery, it's George W. Bush there. The reason why I had to skip around a little bit. Number one, I spent last night giving some leeway, even though the middle passage A and C, B, D, and E, A, D, and E, A, D, and C, or B, D, and E were due at the beginning of the hour. Some of you turned in later last night. I spent that time based on who was done going through the middle passage documents and going through who was done and grouping you off based on which documents you had. The idea is to do this, to be able to talk. So I'm going to talk through what you're doing. If you can, if you can, go in and unsubmit your assignment 17. Go in and unsubmit your assignment 17 if you can. And when I say that, I mean you may have to, if it's freezing on you, you may have to wait. But if you can, go in and unsubmit your assignment 17 and open up the PowerPoint, the slide that you had your responses in. We're going to come back to that. We're going to look at this concept of sourcing and corroboration. Sourcing, again, is the idea, we've done a little bit of this. Who was it? What is the author's perspective? Where was it written? Is it reliable? Why or why not? Okay, that's the idea. Is it reliable? Why or why not? Again, reliability, it could be a couple different things. Are you reliable as a source of information? Or do you present some sort of bias or skew on this? For example, the slave ship captain, we talked about how he may be a little biased because he's going to favor A, getting money for the slaves, and B, his crew, right? So he's not really going to have much empathy or perspective for the slaves. And we talked about how in document A, the Portuguese are biased because they were one of the first slave traders and the first explorers. And so the textbook is justifying this. Well, they really didn't know what they were doing, right? They really didn't know what they were doing. So again, source is more than just third person and secondary source or primary source. It's like who wrote it, why did they write it, what was their bias. Corroboration is if you have a set of documents like we do here, how do they compare to each other? Compare and contrast. How does one support another, and so on? Okay, those are the things you need to think about, and that's what we're going to look at. So on the slideshow, which hopefully maybe you've had a chance to open now. Add in yours, go to that drop down plus sign. You're going to add in corroboration, comparison 1 and comparison 2, corroboration, comparison 1 and comparison 2, reliability 1 and 2. You're going to add in addition to your documents, in addition to ones you did, corroboration, comparison 1 and 2, and reliability 1 and 2. There's some charts here, okay? That's what you're going to add in. That's what you're going to add in. Okay, so here we go. Once you've added these in, the corroboration, it's going to ask you, how is this account similar or different from other documents? So I'm going to keep this very simple. All you have to do is pick one document to compare, pick one document to contrast it with. So with the Portuguese textbook, this is where your people might be helpful. Like the person who had document A might be helpful here. And looking at, like a person who had document C, but you could also open up the PDF and look at it as well. So one of the things I noticed, and this is my corroboration comparison, is that there was not enough room in the boats. And we're talking about the slave ships, right? This is from the Portuguese text. If you go down to document D, that's corroborated by document D, is it not? The document D, the slave ship diagram, that shows how tightly packed they were. So you write a simple sentence. The Portuguese textbook mentioning there was not enough room in the boats is corroborated by is supported by or corroborated by, kind of synonyms there, by the picture of the slave ship diagram. Boom. Your corroboration part is done. You've compared one document to another. You can take a different document or the same document, whichever you like, and contrast it. So with the Portuguese textbook, the description of the journey is very, not very detailed, right? It just talks about that it was difficult. There was extreme lack of thirst and lack of hygiene. It's not very detailed. You could say, by contrast, more details and more vivid details are provided by either Equiano in document E or the slave ship doctor in document C. More details are provided by Equiano or the slave ship document in document E or C, whichever one you like. So therefore, what did I just do? I just compared A, I corroborated it with document D. I just corroborated A to D. And then I just contrasted A to C. An aspect, sentence or two for each. That's all you have to do. You're talking to each other. Your dialogue is to help each other support. The best ones I've seen today, all unmute their mic. One person presents so that you can type in the doc, and then the others type in with it. So you get one person to present on the group meet. It's helpful when you talk to each other a little bit. Just sitting there isn't really going to be helpful. So Gabby, hopefully they'll load after you leave. So don't enter the group breakout until you get your slides to load. Okay. Don't enter the group breakout until you get your slides to load. That will be good. That will hopefully work once we've exited the meet. You get some stuff cleared out. So, yeah, so make sure that your slides are open before you go into the group breakout. I want to talk about not corroboration, but reliability. So reliability is a little bit different. Reliability is, what's the bias of these people? What's the bias? So with the Portuguese textbook, we talked about you could write a sentence on, and you could look at, one of the things you look at for reliability is look at their background. So we said that with the Portuguese textbook, the reliability might be tainted by the fact that the Portuguese were among the first traders, and they're sympathetic to the Europeans. They're sympathetic to the Europeans. They use a line in there. Oh, they really didn't know the impact that the slave trade was going to have on the Africans. So they didn't really know what they were getting into. So they're sympathetic. While the slave ship doctor, document C, really provides a good detailed account of the horrors of the slave trade, and really empathetic to their inconveniences. It is. What the world? It is, let's look at document C. It is, well, it is also written, you have to realize that his perspective is a little biased because if you look at his description, he is, that slave ship doctor, Falconbridge, ends up being works with the Anti-Slavery Society. So clearly, he's writing this afterwards, and his perspective is one that he's against slavery. So he's trying to drive home a point, right? And then with the slave ship captain, we know that, you know, he's driven by dollars, driven by greed, and so on. And that he doesn't care, the slave ship captain doesn't care about the actual slaves. He cares about his men and making dollars. And that's the way he views it. That's what you mean by bias. So you're taking all these documents together and hopefully getting a good historical account. So to summarize, you're talking to each other in these groups, and you're talking to each other about working on the corroboration and reliability pieces. Again, comparing one document to another. I literally just did the first one with you. A to C, A to D, excuse me, A to C. All right, contrasting. Then you have go over here. So here's your groups. I'm sorry, you're not getting permanently married to these people. You will have some time tomorrow to work on this as well. You're not getting permanently married to these people. It's just a temporary day, this day and tomorrow group. So here's in assignment 17, there are groups, and if you're left off, if you were left off that group, it's because you didn't finish. You didn't finish your document. So that means you need to stay off the meeting and finish your documents first. You can open this yourself, and if mine ever opens, it would be helpful. So this is your groups, and again, I broke you up based on which groups you were representing. Where you're representing, documents A and C or B and E. So there's only 4 groups, surprisingly, for this big of a class, because there's some people that didn't get on there. So This is the group. This is the group that you're, and there's links in here to the breakout rooms. There's links to the breakout rooms. Okay, there's links to the breakout rooms that you can find. Okay, so this is what you're doing to start. You can all unmute your mics in the breakout rooms. It's not very, there's not very many of you. It should be fine to talk about these, and I'll be in to check on you, periodically for clarification. If you didn't get a group, it's because, again, you didn't do it. You didn't do the first part like you were supposed to, and that's why you didn't get a group. It means you should be working on your document A, C, and D, or B, E, and D. Okay? So you may go to the breakout rooms, and that's where you're going to be for the rest of the hour.